Welcome, everyone. Find yourself a really comfortable seat, and you might want to wiggle and shake your body. You might want to stand to do this or sit to do this. There's a lot of evidence that physically shaking out your negative emotions or something that's bothering you or things that are in your body, and we can just physically move them away and out of us today so that we can start fresh and new. You might want to use your arms and like move whatever junk is in you out. You might do it on your legs, you might do it on your chest or your back or off of your head. We are just energetically getting ourselves into a space where we can feel fresh and arrive clear-headed, or as clear-headed as possible. And so once you feel like, all right, this is pretty good, I feel like I've shaken it out, I can leave whatever is going on in the rest of the world, which is busy and chaotic and always demanding our attention, and I can just focus on me for a little bit. And this is a gift you're giving to yourself. You've already done the hardest part, which is showing up. So if you do nothing else, you have already benefited. So once you feel like, okay, I've shaken, I'm good, find yourself a really, really super comfortable seat. You might rock back and forth on your sits bones, or you might rock forward and backward to find where is that spine feeling aligned and tall. And so we always want that curvature of the spine, but a lot of times we're hunched forward in our shoulders or our neck because we spend a lot of time either driving or typing or carrying things. So we're going to think about a nice tall spine, inhaling up the front of the body, over the top of the head, and exhaling down the back of the spine into the tailbone. So thinking about tucking the chin back a little bit, about sitting up tall, about expanding the chest by rolling the shoulders back. And then we'll just inhale up the front of the body, over the head, and exhaling down the back of the spine. And maybe you want to experiment with exhaling out the mouth. It's up to you. Inhaling through the nose and coming up and exhaling down the back. The longer we make those exhales, the stronger the signal to the parasympathetic nervous system that we are safe, that we are held, that it is time to relax. We do not have to be in that fight or flight mode. Inhaling up the front of the body, energetically over the head, and then exhaling down the back of the spine. You can do one of those at your own pace, in your own time, whatever the length of breath that feels good in your body. And we'll move into the spine a little bit with some seated cat-cows. You can do this cross-legged. You can do this in a chair. You can also, if you want to do this on your hands and knees, and that's part of your practice and that feels good in your body, you're welcome to do that as well. But inhaling to bring the chest forward and open and looking up towards the ceiling, and then exhaling to round the spine into that Halloween cat, tucking the chin to the chest, pressing into the knees or into the ground, and moving with your breath. There is no one right or wrong pace for this. You might want to do really big, really slow movements, or you might want to do fast, small movements, or something in between. It is totally up to you. But feeling into all of your vertebrae, putting some movement into the spine, into the shoulders, tucking the pelvis and untucking the pelvis, moving the tailbone, moving the neck, and just seeing how your body feels today. We are a different body every day. What you could do yesterday sometimes is difficult today. What you could not do yesterday sometimes is easy today. And we approach with a beginner's mindset always, because we cannot control all of the things in the universe, and that includes how our body is. All we can do is show up, give ourselves some TLC, and give ourselves some grace. And then you may like to add a little twist, looking over one shoulder, dropping the other shoulder down, as you do a little more free-flowing movements. So still kind of thinking about that cat-cow undulation of the spine, but being a little more playful, a little more free, a little more loosey-goosey, maybe putting in some rotation of the spine or some opening of the shoulders. Be really organic with this and ask yourself, what would feel good in my body right now? Not listening to the ego, what would be the most difficult or the most impressive, or what should I be doing? We're going to put that aside and instead ask your body what would feel good, and then do that. And when you feel ready, we'll come back into a nice tall seat to do a bit of side bending. So inhaling to sweep one or both arms up and exhaling over to one side. And if this feels like a lot, you can always put one hand on the chair, one hand on the ground to help with the balance. You're welcome to adjust the head and neck, because sometimes looking up, that feels really good. Sometimes looking forward really feels good. Thinking about getting two shoulders in one line and feeling that stretch from the armpit down to the hip. And again, breathing, right? If you're not breathing here, then you've lost the pose, and you might just come out just a little bit until the breath is all right. And then we'll slowly come back up to center, do a little back bend here. If it's getting a lot for the arms to be overhead, you can always grab for opposite elbows. Looking up, lengthening the spine, bringing the chest up, and then letting the arms come back down by your side. Bring maybe some movement into the shoulders if that feels good in both directions. Or maybe you feel okay just sitting still, and we'll do that same thing on the other side. Inhaling the arms up overhead, you can grab for opposite wrists, or you can bring the palms together, or you can interlock the fingers and release the index finger. And then we'll bend over to the opposite side. And again, you decide where your neck position is the most comfortable. Maybe it's straight on, or maybe you're looking up towards the ceiling, feeling the stretch from the armpit down to the hip, and making sure that you're breathing here. If we hold the breath, then we have lost the pose. So be gentle with yourself, and if it feels like it's too much, then just come out of it a little bit. The most important part is that we are matching breath to the movement. And if this feels a lot with the hands, then just grab for opposite elbows. That's fine. If this feels a lot for the balance, then use the hand on the ground or on the chair to help support you. And then we'll slowly come back through center and do a little back bend here, reaching up towards the ceiling. Look for something new. And then slowly let your arms come down by your sides. And again, maybe you give yourself a little neck rolls if that feels good. Or moving the shoulders up and down if that feels good. Really up to you. Lovely. And we'll put a little bit of movement into the hips. You may like to move the knees open and closed, or you might like to grab underneath or on top of the knees and physically move the hip in one direction and the other direction. Some people like to cradle the foot and the knee and rock the baby back and forth. So if that feels accessible to you, that's a great movement. Some people like to do a figure four, so crossing the ankle over the knee and then leaning forward to bring some movement into the hips. If you're comfortable on all fours, maybe come back into that tabletop position and do some hip circles that way. Some people like to stand up and do some hip circles while they're standing. Maybe you hold on to the back of the chair, you hold on to the desk or the wall if balance feels tough today. And then when you feel like, okay, that hip is has some movement, feels pretty good, switch to the other side. And you might do the same thing, or you might do something different, because we are, again, not as symmetric as we might think we are. So again, bringing some movement into the hips. Maybe you do this manually by getting the arms involved. Maybe you rock the baby if that feels good. Maybe you stand and do some hip circles, or sit and do some hip circles, or do that figure 4 where you cross the ankle over the knee and then hinge forward to feel that opening in the hip. It's your practice. You get to decide which hip opener feels attainable, which feels joyful for you today. Because if it feels like a slog, then maybe that's not the right movement for this exact moment, right? And then when you're ready, we'll find some stillness, and that can be lying down on your mat. It can be sitting up nice and tall. It can be relaxing with your back against the back of the chair. Maybe you put a towel or a pillow behind you to give yourself some extra support. It's really up to you. Find yourself a comfortable position, and then if you're comfortable with it, close your eyes. And if that's not comfortable for you today, that's fine. Lower your gaze, close your eyes halfway. Find a drishti, a little point of focus that you can block out the rest of everything else and go within. Find your breath. Just notice wherever it is today, if it's in the chest or the ribs or the belly. And then invite it down into the diaphragm. Allow the belly to rise on the inhale and sink on the exhale. These don't have to be big breaths. They don't have to be long breaths, but just invite the belly to get involved. And if it doesn't want to, fine, but the invitation is open. And we're going to do a Tonglen meditation today. And if this doesn't resonate with you, just come back right here, watching the belly, watching the chest, watching the breath come in, and watching the breath go out. But if you want to try it, we're going to use a visualization of dark black-gray smoke and a pure white light smoke. So we're going to start with ourselves and any irritations or agitations or things in our life that aren't going exactly how we want. And we're going to imagine that is the dark gray black smoke. And we're going to bring it into our heart. So inhaling in, bringing that black smoke into our heart. And our heart is so powerful and so pure that it can purify that dark black smoke. And as we exhale this light, white, pure smoke that is free from the agitation, that is reframing, that is looking at things with the light of possibility and hope and moving forward rather than the stuckness. And so on every inhale, we take in this black smoke, bring it into the heart, purify it until we can breathe out this beautiful white light smoke. In with the dark and out with the light. In with the dark and out with the light. Taking in any worries or any irritation and letting go nothing but joy and happiness and hope for the future. Inhaling the suffering and exhaling the happiness. Transforming that suffering in our hearts into the higher, more positive emotions. And if this is working for you, stay here. If you want to go a step further, think about someone you know who is suffering, who has agitation or irritation in their life. Imagine them sitting right across from you and they're telling you about their woes, and help them transform whatever it is that's bothering them into this pure white smoke, this lovely light feelings of hope and happiness and positivity, taking in their suffering. And because your heart is so strong and so pure, it can cleanse and purify whatever it is that's ailing them and give back nothing but this light, white, positive intentions, happiness, joy, whatever emotion that you want to give back. So visualizing them help take in their suffering, and on the exhale, help ease it, help make it easy, help make it tolerable. Inhaling the dark and exhaling the light. If this visualization is working for you, stick with it. Or if you want to take it a step further, think about an issue in the world, and there are lots, and they are not our sole burden to carry. It is not our responsibility to fix everything, but it is our privilege to be able to walk through this world in a way that we add to the benefit that we are filling ourselves and others with positive emotions. So think about some of that suffering that's happening in the world, and we'll take in just a little bit of it. Again, it's not our responsibility to fix everything, but we'll take it in as black, dark smoke, and because our heart is so powerful, it transmutes it into those higher emotions of joy, of wonder, of possibility, of hope. And as you exhale, see that lovely white healing smoke come out. Inhaling the dark and exhaling the light. And on your next exhale, gently let go of that visualization and come right back into your heart space, thanking your heart for all of its work. It works for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether we pay attention or not. Thanking the breath for being with us. The same thing, our breath is with us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether we're paying attention or not. And using the heart space and using the breath to be objects of our meditation as we visualize and as we let ourselves be light and let ourselves be less burdened by our burdens. This is a space to thank your body for all the things that it can do. to thank yourself for showing up and spending some time in your body with your breath. And then very slowly start bringing some movements into your body, starting with the limbs, the fingertips. Maybe you rub the thumbs against each finger, or maybe you open and close the hands. Maybe you press the toes into the ground and wiggle those, or put some movement into the ankles and wrists. Just slowly waking the body back up, bringing movement into the shoulders and the elbows, into the spine, into the legs, into your face. Maybe you open and close the jaw, or squeeze the eyes together and relax them. Whatever makes sense, whatever feels good to you. Take yourself a nice big stretch. If your eyes are still closed, maybe you cover them to let the light in more gently. Maybe you give yourself a little massage on the temples, or maybe on the neck, whatever it is that would feel good in your body today. And then think of one very small action you can take to carry this feeling with you, to carry the lightness with you, to carry the positive emotions with you out into the rest of your day. Thanks so much for practicing with me today.